I think we got them figured out, though this tripod is not doing a good job. Hang on one second. Sorry, making you a little seasick. Can you fix that for me? That's really crooked, though. There we go. That's better. All right. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll give it a second for people to sign on. I know we had one started and then I had to stop it because it was messed up, and now we just restarted it. So I think we'll catch everybody here. Apologize for that. All right. There we go. We are going to be talking about some of our favorite homestead efficiency tips. So that's both like outside with the animals in the garden and also inside the house. Just things that have really worked well for us that we've discovered over the last almost 7 years we've owned the homestead, 6 years we've lived here, that really help make it manageable. I know a lot of people always make comments like, I don't know how you do it all and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of it comes down to how how we arrange our time and trying to be as efficient as possible with our time and not wasting times retracing steps and things like that, and really having systems set up that give you a lot of bang for your buck, as they say. So we're just waiting on Sam here. He's making himself a cup of coffee because the man has been studying for what, 12 hours today? What time did you start this morning?
12 hours,
a lot of it.
Something like that.
Yeah, so he's tired. He's been working really hard. So tell me, how are things where everybody is at? It is going to be almost 100 degrees every day this week. So a lot of our stuff is now being pushed, chores and stuff being pushed super early morning, like right when the sun comes up, because it's just hot all day, every day. You don't want to be out there doing a lot of hard work in it. So let's see. We have... Welcome. Grandpa Dan and Grammy are here. And Tessa, thanks for joining us. And Homestead Nana says it is hot where she's at too. Here, I'll move down a little bit. There's Sam. It is just, I feel like it goes every year. It goes from like spring where you're like, oh, maybe I need a light jacket, to like 100 degrees. You get like a week of nice summer weather. And then it's just miserable until August. So Beth says it's 104. What did you say the heat index was today?
The heat index is like 105 or so. Oh, this is gonna bug me. That's cricket.
Sorry. We're having trouble with our tripod.
Our tripod is just... It's not doing what it's supposed to do. Sorry, everybody. Welcome,
Refining Roots. Thanks for joining us. It was hot today. Kept the kids indoors for the most part. Yeah, we played outside. Oh, here's the irony. So it's not supposed to rain at all this week. And this morning it was going to be the coolest part of this week. It was only like 80 degrees this morning. So I'm told all the kids they were going to play outside all morning before it gets so hot. And then like the second they get outside on their trampoline, even though like it's sunny out, it starts pouring rain. It was one of those weird showers. And I was like, come on. Like they need to play outside before it gets hot.
I had somebody yesterday ask me if it was going to rain. And I said, no, it's not going to rain all week. And then first thing Monday morning, we had some rain.
Right.
So
ruined my plans.
I'm not sure
welcome, Judy and Charlie. We glad to see you here. Is the baby... Is he in our room or is he in the playground?
No, he was in the little...
Welcome, Irish Lady. Oh, 80s isn't too bad. Strawberry currant jam. That sounds lovely. We made mulberry jam yesterday, so everybody's fingers are very purple. Pennsylvania is 70s all week. That sounds wonderful. You can send that here. Yeah, Grammy, North Carolina, 114. I believe that. Dean family, thanks for joining us. And Kathy, thanks for joining us from Wisconsin. Are you past your last frost date yet? I kid, but it's kind of true, isn't it? You got a super short growing season, I'm sure. And Lois, thanks for joining us. Our weather is bouncing around. That's always really frustrating too, because it does weird things to, like, if you have allergies, it does weird things to my skin. Like my skin gets super dry if the weather bounces around a lot, and then you just don't know what to expect every day. So, All right, so let's get started here. So we are going to try to do this in a sensible order. And I thought maybe first we would start with what's outside, how we're really efficient with our systems outside, or try to be really efficient with our systems outside on the homestead. So if you aren't familiar, I know most of you have been watching for a while, but if you're not familiar, we have chickens, we have ducks, we just added some geese, we have a dairy goat and her breeding buck, and then we have another breeding pair of goats, but they're little, and then we have a pair of sheep rams. This is our first year trying sheep. I know somebody commented they were disappointed we didn't get a breeding pair. We got the cheap 2-for-1 special pair of rams that somebody didn't want because we don't know anything about sheep, and we wanted to make sure that we enjoyed raising sheep, that we were good at raising sheep up for butcher before we invested in a good set of breeding stock, because it gets pretty expensive if you want breeding stock. So maybe next year, so far this year is going pretty well with the sheep, but that's kind of what we have outside. And then we have a large row garden, we have some container gardens, and a greenhouse. I think I got all the animals. Oh, we have a dog too, and like way too many barn cats, because it doesn't matter how many times I spay and neuter them, more magically appear from somewhere. So Sam, why don't you talk for a minute so our homestead chores take us about 30 minutes a day, would you say that? And that's the outside stuff, which is a lot better than when we first started. So tell me maybe about chickens, like how do you keep the chickens as efficient as possible?
Well, I think with most of your animals, once you kind of, like, everybody's farm and your systems are going to be a little bit different, but once you kind of fine tune how you would like to do your farm, you can put in systems that are in place that can really help you minimize the time it takes. Now, some people like going out to their chickens and like hand feeding things and just like spending a lot of time with them. We're not those kind of people. We're not very sentimental, really. I mean, we love our animals and want to care for them, but
they don't have names.
Not usually. The girls sometimes will give particular ones names, kind of special ones, but so most of our chores, we do it for time's sake. And so basically we've got it set up where for my big chickens, I've got it set up where I could only check them once a week if I wanted to, basically. I've got a big, like 50-gallon, or maybe it's a 40-gallon feeder, or 40 pounds, I'm sorry, not gallons, like a 40-pound feeder, so I can dump almost a whole sack of feed in there for them. They can munch on that. It's in their coop. And
you have it suspended, right? So they can't knock it over?
Yeah, it's suspended. And then the same thing with their water. Now, I do like to check on them, try to check on them every day just to make sure that nothing got them down there, there's nothing funny going on down there, and that like their food didn't somehow get knocked over or their water didn't get knocked over. Now with like the baby geese, since they're still really little, I don't feed them nearly as much food like at once. They have like a little like 5-pound feeder, so they go through that quickly. And the ducks and the geese do go through water, like their little splash and play in water that we have to fill up. But and you can do the same thing really with almost any animal you have. You can put in systems if you want to. And one of the reasons that I like to put in a system like that where you don't have to like be there every day is in case you do have an emergency or something comes up and you're not like, somebody's got to get down there to do X, Y, and Z for all these animals, or like, especially, it's going to be 105 degrees. Like, you got to, if you don't have systems in place, it might be really intensive and have to take care of them. And so for our lifestyle, and what we want from our homestead and farm, I think that's important to put in some systems. One thing I would like to do, improve on in the future, I think, is to be able to collect some rainwater, to put that into, like I use the nipple waterers for most of our animals, but be able to put rainwater that drips into that, and so I can have, 200 gallons of rainwater that drips down in there. And then it truly will be to where, you could get bigger feeders. I know some people put big old trash cans out. I'm just afraid that something weird will happen and that all that feed will get contaminated, and I'll have like 4 bags of feed that I gotta toss out basically. But you can put systems in place even for big animals too. You know, if you've got cattle, you know, like we've got our sheep and goats, and some of those you might still have to take care of daily, but you can really minimize how much effort goes into that. Instead of having, you know, you're in the winter, your hay on one side of your farm and your water on the other side, and then you've got to try to like tote it to your animals. Like it can get, it's not that big of a deal, but it just takes a lot of extra time.
I think something that we did really learn early on is that you want your things close. Now you know, like when you drive by old farmhouses, why they built the barn 2 steps behind the house. Like, it's a lot of time walking.
Yeah, and you know, and especially, you know, when it's fall or spring and the weather's like kind of nice, it's not that big of a deal. But when it's summer or winter, when you get to those extremes, it's really nice to have things close that you can take care of. I've told Laura many times one of my goals for our farm eventually is to have a decent sized barn and have just everything connected to it. Like our shed that we have right now, I can't really drive to it because of how it's situated. So I'd love to have a barn where I can actually drive to it to unload all of my feed and farm supplies and stuff, and then have all of the animals connected to that barn in some aspect or another. And then your care and it's just like centralized for everybody. It'd be really, really nice. But that's in the future sometime.
We got tons of comments here to catch up on before we go on to the next thing.
Can you pull that a little closer?
Yeah. Tammy says California and the coolest day today is mid-80s. Yeah, it's going to be hot there too. Thanks for joining us. First time live. Thank you. Karen wants to know, do we harvest the chickens or just the roosters? We have before raised meat birds.
We have.
It was an adventure.
A couple of times.
But
there's been a time or two where we butchered our own, and then a time or two where we sent them off. There was a place that was somewhat local that butchered them, that was like state inspected and all that. But yeah, we do harvest. We do harvest chickens.
This
sometimes.
year, we don't really have. We just have laying hens right now and 1 rooster, so we're not really raising any meat birds this year. There's just too much going on with all of Annie's therapy to be able to do the meat birds, especially because when we did meat birds, we had coops that you had to move every day.
So it was intensive.
It was more time, and we discovered that did not work very well on our land. It was frustrating. Or I couldn't do, like, I was not strong enough to pull him uphill, and so he had to do it, and so.
If we had some better systems in place for that, like if our field was kept mowed down a lot better by some bigger animals, moving that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it can get pretty long and hairy, and moving chickens
and then there's lots of little slithery things hiding for you playing peekaboo when you're trying to walk
there's a lot of snakes in our field.
Excuse me. Let's see. Diana, welcome. It's hot in Ohio. Oh, I'm glad you're safe from a nasty storm. And Pam and Tara are here, so thank you for joining us. And Homestead Nana, do you collect your eggs every day?
Sometimes it does not happen.
No.
But...
Well, right now we have tried for 6 years to specifically pick broody breeds, and nobody ever sat on eggs. And so this year we were just like, we'll just kind of get whatever we want and not really care. And guess what? I have a duck now and a chicken down there sitting on all the eggs. And if you even think about poking your head in that coop, they start hissing at you. So we're just going to see what happens.
There's still some eggs that aren't like in the nests part that we can collect. And the chicken and the duck are like, they're both still fairly young. It's not like they're 4 or 5 years old. They're both still fairly young, and I would say they're like mostly broody, but they're not hardcore broody yet. And so we're still trying to encourage them to maybe sit.
Yeah, we don't want to kick them off. So we're getting some eggs, but I am still having to buy some eggs at the store because I don't want to kick them off. And 1, have them attack one of the kids trying to get the eggs, or 2, that they don't go back. We would like them to hatch eggs for us. That would be really neat.
We've always wanted that. We thought that would be
really
cool.
neat for the kids to see. So we'll see.
We have hatched chicks in an incubator before, but not naturally. We haven't had that happen.
Dean Family says trying to coordinate for being able to be gone is a real trick, and that is very true.
And honestly,
go ahead. I say especially if you have a dairy animal, like if you have a dairy goat, that's the hardest one because you can maybe find someone to come feed animals. It's not a big deal, but finding somebody to take care of a milk animal is tough.
Whenever we have been gone, like we've gone to visit Laura's parents, we'll be gone for a week or so. We've done that a few times, and usually I have my dad or one of my brothers come down, and I do my best to put things in place for them so that chores are only like 15 minutes long or so, and they're mostly just having to check the animals, maybe break some waterers up. I tried to get everybody's water to where it wouldn't freeze last year as best I could and such, but every time we've left, we have dried off the goat before because I feel bad trying to get someone that's brand new to try and milk a goat that isn't going to like the way they're doing it, because goats are picky. Any animal can be a little bit picky when it's a new person. So I don't know.
So homestead chores for us about 30 minutes, maybe not even. So we do that by chickens don't need stuff every day, even if you peek in on them. They don't need stuff every day. We do milk every day. Right now, every morning we milk. That only takes now that I know what I'm doing. First milking, if you watch that video, it took me 25 minutes and that goat was so angry at me. But now it takes maybe 5.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
It's really easy. And we actually have our milking stand in the barn right next to the goat pen. So she literally, you open the door. She loves being milked because A, it feels good, and B, she gets special grain. So she literally she's waiting for you. She walks the 10 steps to the milking stand and just stands there and snacks. I milk her and then she goes right back. It's really fast. It's not a big production that you have to go gather her from the field and bring her up. It's she's ready to go.
We have done that before. When we had 3 goats, we'd have them out in the field. You have to go out and get each one. It was much more of a process.
Oh, and a funny story. What we learned when we first, and we had 3, is we learned from Chickawoof, where we got them from, that the goats are really smart and they know what order they are supposed to be milked in, and you cannot pull them out of order. Whoever is first is always first.
Yeah, if you do, they'll all pitch a fit, really. But what else was I gonna say about? Oh yeah, one of the big chores right now is just making sure everybody has fresh, clean water because it's so stinking hot and they go through it so fast. And then moving the baby geese, I've got them in a movable pen up here by the house. So we move them, give them fresh water and feed almost every day, and then give the little baby goats and sheep.
Yeah, they get a little bit of feed, but they're on a pretty big pasture area, so they just get a little bit. They don't really need much. Just check their water and just a scoop of feed. So that's nice because it's pretty quick. We can get it all done, and then we don't really do any night chores. I only milk once a day.
Yeah, we used to do. Now, we might check on them throughout the day. Kind of, what people
especially when it's really hot.
Yeah, what people might call barn checks or whatever throughout the day. But as far as the actual farm chores, we've got that whittled down to basically once a day. So that's really nice too.
That is really nice. Okay, so some other do you have any other outside stuff for
efficiency?
For efficiency. Being close to your water and having things close to your house is really the big one because walking takes a long time and hauling stuff takes a long time. It's
kind of funny too, if you ever go to the Amish, because they don't have tractors and things like that. Like Laura said before, they're kind of old school farmers, and literally they'll have 5 buildings surrounding their house, within 20 or 30 feet of the house, right there. And the first time you see it, I was like, man, that's just kind of cluttered. I don't know about that. But then when you live on a farm for a little bit, you're like, well, I totally understand that. And especially when, your horses are your main...
Spills the water
on
the sleeping chair.
Okay. Why don't you get a rag and clean it up?
Get a towel out of the bathroom, okay?
But anyway, when your horses are your main mode of transportation,
go get one out of the bathroom, okay?
Anyway, they spilt some water upstairs apparently.
It's all right. Okay, so for that other kind of stuff that comes with trying to live a more sustainable lifestyle. One of the big things that I've learned when it comes to laundry, it's really hard to keep up on laundry for a lot of people. And other than, like making sure you're re-wearing your pajamas or, wearing play clothes if we're not going anywhere, might wear them a couple times before they're dirty and really need washed. But I did learn that if I do another load of laundry at night, if I do a load of laundry at night, like I have one that just finished, and as soon as this live stream is over, I'm going to hang it up outside. So I already did laundry today. It's been hung and dried and just brought it in before this. The sun's getting ready to go down, but if I hang up laundry at night, the sun comes up at like 5:15 in the morning, and by the time breakfast is over and I've run a new load of laundry, the stuff that was hung out overnight is already dry. So it's like getting an extra load done, even though it's not going to dry at night because the sun's not out, and a lot of times there's dew. As soon as the sun starts coming up, it starts to dry, and then you've got one more load done during the day, which when you're hang and line drying everything, that's really a big deal because things can only dry so fast outside. So that saves me a lot of time. What else? So coming inside, one of my favorite things to do, and I just did it today, is when we're having a really busy day, is that I cook all of the meals for the day at the same time. So when I'm making breakfast, I also make lunch and dinner. So I have a video on that. I can link it below here for you to check out after live stream's over. But just for an example, today I did it. So breakfast, we had toast and I made fruit and spinach smoothies. Kids are not fans of the spinach, but if you get it really small, they don't know. And when I put that stuff on the table, then I filled the crock pot with like potatoes and green beans and carrots and put 2 ham steaks on top and just put that on low, and that was dinner tonight, so that cooked all day. And then I grilled up some chicken and put that aside, and for lunch we just had some grilled chicken with some like a bag of frozen cauliflower rice and vegetables that just needed steamed real quick. And so basically I cooked at about 8 o'clock this morning and then cleaned it up, and I wasn't making a bunch of dishes messes. I wasn't having to do the dishes in order to cook more things, which takes a lot of time out of your day.
In the summer, it doesn't heat your house up.
Yes, that's true
in the
too.
summer, like for us, we don't have central heating. We have this little AC behind us, and then we've got one for the girls' room and one for our room. We just turn them on when we're in those rooms throughout the day. So to avoid heating the house up, it's nice to cook like that in the morning instead of doing it during the hottest part of the day.
When we first moved here, we thought, we're going to be real hardcore and not have any air conditioning. How did
we
that
did it.
go?
We did it for like 5 years or 4 years, something like that.
There's some things that you need to enjoy life a little bit. And we also say that temperature extremes are really hard on Annie's body, not just cold, but too hot. And so having an air conditioner helps her become more comfortable, but also it's pretty miserable trying to sleep in the middle of July when it's still like 80 degrees at night and it's super humid. Like the humidity is horrible, and if you don't have air conditioning, that humidity just lingers. Even if you're running a fan so it doesn't feel so hot, it just feels like you're swimming and it's gross.
When you've been outside slaving away in the middle of the day and you come inside and it's like slightly cooler. And we've tried all the like opening certain windows and doors to get the breeze, and it does help a bit, but
when you know what air conditioning feels like, you just want it. Tara says, I try to prep things on Sundays for meals all week. Yes, that's great. Meal planning is also great. I have...
it saves money,
Can you grab that thing off the fridge? I have this thing. I've actually been behind on meal planning. The last couple weeks have been horrible, so we'll get back to it. But I know if I have a plan, not just saves money, but it just reduces stress. So this sticks on my fridge. It used to have a lot of sheets, but I'm down to the last one. But I fill out the meal plan, and then this rips off separately. It's the grocery list. And then I can do the meal plan and make the grocery list, rip the grocery list off for the week, and then go shopping, and then I'll have everything for the meal plan. And then you just, when you wake up in the morning, you're always like, all right, how much of breakfast, lunch, and dinner can I get done first thing in the morning so then I don't have to worry about it all day? Because with 6 kids, like there's just so much going on all the time. I want them to eat good foods. I want to cook from scratch, but I can't spend all day doing it, if that makes sense. So... Prep for Eternity says we just would have trouble with
With
95
and
and
103.
103. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just like, yeah, people did it forever. You know, air conditioning's a new thing. But does that make them better than us? I don't know. I don't know. I think air conditioning in moderation is a good thing. I think it helps a lot of people with a lot of different health problems and makes life a little bit more enjoyable. Obviously, you know, we try to be moderate, like it's not on right now, because it is a lot of electricity. There's, you know, things involved that aren't good for the earth. So, but in moderation, makes life a little more enjoyable. Dean family, we went 11 months without AC in new home. It's just not an option, especially down south. Yes. And you also have to worry about, like, when you don't have the air conditioning, removing humidity, especially down south, I imagine, like, you get mold problems, right? Like, there's just so much moisture. Homestead Nana, I told my husband, I think it's time to invest in an air conditioner. The older we get, the harder it is when it's super hot. And that's very true. Mm-hmm. It's just, I couldn't do it. I know we've met off grid with Doug and Stacy before. They're not too far from here, and they have their log cabin that has it's all off grid, mm-hmm. So they don't have any air conditioning. And I always want to ask him. I'm like, because they have a loft, right?
Yeah.
And they sleep up there. I'm like, how do you do it in the summer? Like, it's got to be.
They do not sleep in the loft in the summer.
That's how they do it.
They
It's got to be
sleep in,
so
like,
miserable up there.
They have their summer kitchen kind of thing, and they'll throw mattresses out there.
Yeah.
I did ask. We have some friends that live near the Amish in Missouri, and we went and visited a couple of Amish farms. And one of the girls was working their shop that they had on their farm, like their little store. And we asked her a couple questions afterwards. She was like a teenage girl, and I was like, "Don't you get hot up there in the summer sleeping?" Because I think it was the summer when we visited. And she was like, "Oh no, you know, it's fine." I'm like, methinks you're
stretching it a
little bit, but anyway.
Lois says, when you've never had air conditioning, not having it doesn't seem like a big deal, except about 2 weeks out of the year. Yeah,
2 weeks out of the year is so true. Like, if
it doesn't cool down enough at night so that the house can start cool,
yeah, that's the big
it's just
deal.
Miserable.
We would open all the windows and doors at night to let all the nice cool air in there. Dude, the goal is to shut them during the day, which with 6 kids does not happen very well, but keep some of that coolness inside. We went for a while without any AC, and then we did get little window units for the bedrooms. We had those for a couple years, and then we decided to get this one for the kitchen.
You always say it's the best purchase we ever made.
Every summer when it starts getting hot again, I tell Laura that the AC for the kitchen was like the best purchase we've ever made for the farm. It's so nice when it's disgusting outside and sweat is just pouring off, and you can come inside and get a glass of water and actually cool off for like 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah. It's really nice.
And it's hard because there's times in summer when I need to do a lot of canning and I don't have an outside setup. I know some people do it outside. And so having the air conditioning inside, like, I can do my canning and it's not going to make the house 10 million degrees. And I don't have to worry about making an outside setup, especially with a lot of little kids. If it's inside, they can be busy and safe. And I don't have to worry about, like, propane and things like that. With them all running around outside and being crazy, like, I would have concerns about safety. So
let's see, mold. Dean Family Anchor says mold, and it brings 95 plus inside is what made us finally bite the bullet and pay for a new HVAC. Yeah, it'll make you do it. AC is wonderful. Electric bill, not so much. That is very true.
Well, actually, we've noticed the little window AC. So we don't run them all the time. We have them temperature set, so they don't run all the time, which helps. They actually aren't that expensive. It's the heating in the winter that kills our electric bill when we need our supplemental heat when it's so cold that the wood stove can't do it all.
Yeah, the ACs are more efficient than the heat is, but still, yeah, it does hit you in the wallet for sure.
Antonia, welcome from Ohio.
And Holly says, your dad will remember the Hobart window fans. We had an old house down in Annapolis. We never had AC there. Well, our house growing up too, where we lived when I was younger, we had a big attic fan that we could turn on, and it did a pretty good job
sucking the hot air out,
pulling up the air when it was working. It wasn't always working, but the house I grew up in, like the main floor, like where you would walk in street level was the basement. It wasn't a split level, but the basement was kind of the main entry point. And then that attic fan was upstairs, and the basement where the living room was and stuff was always cool, and so it would pull the cool air through the house. It worked pretty well at times.
Tessa says we bought good quality, not terribly expensive blackout curtains for our
yeah.
south-facing windows. Made a big difference. Yes, and so when we first moved here, and I learned this from Pete, who's usually on our live. He's not here tonight, but he told me it's called a husband and a wife tree, the two trees in front of the farmhouse. And they were planted here originally, and it's because they shade the south side of the house, which prevents the sun from coming in the summer when their leaves are full. And it really did make a difference. We had to cut one down, and the other one's coming down because they were really old and dying and were going to fall in the house. And since they're not there providing shade, like it's much different.
Definitely tell difference.
People were smart in how they planned things. And I would love to have a porch maybe so there would be that same shade or new trees. Can in your bathing suit and hose yourself down when needed?
Keep you cool.
That would keep me cool. I'd probably be
outdoor,
sunburned. I sunburn so.
Well, if you had an outdoor kitchen, you'd have a roof on top of you, so you wouldn't have that.
Beth says we have HVAC, but still keep all blackout curtains closed during the day to help as much as possible to keep it from working so hard. Also, our basement gets used a lot more in the summer. Yeah, Sam says.
I've thought about that too.
So if you've been following for a while, we're having that decision. Do we finish saving the farmhouse or do we move on and build a new house on the property? And Sam wants a new house because he wants a basement that he can go in when it's 100 degrees outside and it's always 55 down in the basement.
Right. Or if we save the farmhouse, dig out a new basement. Right now I can go in the basement and the beams are like right here. Like I don't necessarily have to duck, but if there's anything hanging down, like I do like lights and stuff, I would run my face right into them, the little lights that are down there. So it would need to be a full basement. But anyway, we got a little off topic.
Yeah, we did. Okay, I do have one more thing. That
AC in the summer. It's important,
whatever
though,
you
right?
guys want to talk about, we're up for it. So I've showed this before. I am not affiliated with this, by the way. I know I've shown this before, but I love it this much, so I'm going to tell you about it. This is the Passionate Penny Pincher. She's on Facebook and on YouTube. She's all about organization and cleaning organization. This is her home planner, which is my life. I write everything in here, and I keep track of what I need to do every day, and I can check it off. And there's cleaning chores and daily cleaning chores to keep on track so that your house isn't disgusting, which is it does help. But I say that with 6 kids, they undo it really fast. But when you are planned ahead and you know where you're going, it really helps with efficiency because it's really easy to be working on a project and then be like, oh, but this over here needs done and that over there needs done. And suddenly you have 4 projects going at a time and nothing gets done, especially on a homestead when there's big outside projects, there's big inside projects. I'll have a day and I'll be like, all right, Tuesday, I'm going to do the big garden weeding. I'm going to do my mowing. Tuesday is my outside projects day. And I'm just going to try to close my eyes and ignore whatever has happened in the house, which is usually art craft stuff everywhere or whatever from the older kids coming in and out. And but it just helps me stay on track and helps make sure that things get done. And I'm not constantly getting distracted and then not getting anything finished because I'm always moving on to the next thing.
Let's see. Karen says, growing up, we didn't have air conditioning, but my father would put a big fan in one window blowing out and another fan on the other side in the house blowing in. We were not hot at night.
So we had a window air conditioning thing,
a window fan.
Yeah. My only concern with window fans, because they have blades and a lot of little kids, and you think you can teach them, don't touch it, and they probably wouldn't, but I would just take one little moment of curiosity.
We used it for our room. We used it for our room at night. Actually, it had 2 fans, so one would blow out and one would blow in, and you could stick it in a window. We used that for a few years to try and pull the cool air in at night and force the hot air out. And it worked pretty well for us. Not too bad. Dean family says, Beth, same with us for our basement use. Yeah.
Yeah, and a basement was one of our priorities when we bought our house a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. They're so nice. And we've talked about it too. If we had a full basement, we've said it before. Mm-hmm. If we had a full basement, we could really use it as almost a cellar as far as storing a lot of our canned goods or potatoes and, all that kind of stuff where it does well, where it's a little bit cooler. It's not going to be, 80 or 90 degrees
Yep.
in a house.
Hello, Debbie. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, and there's things I want to try. Like I want to water glass eggs. If you've ever seen that, where you put them in the lime solution instead of like freezing the eggs, it kind of works, but the texture's weird,
Yeah.
and so they work okay if you're baking with them, but not so much if you want to like eat them just as eggs. But I'd love to water glass eggs, but I have nowhere to put a 5-gallon jar of eggs. A, nowhere space-wise, and B, nowhere that little people aren't going to be like, ooh, splashy, splashy. Okay, because they can, even little guys can open lids. So, like, things like that, I don't have a way to do it, and I would love to. So if we had a basement with, like, a pantry section down there, like, watch out. I'm going to start smoking my own meats,
a whole
water glass in my
section.
eggs.
That'd be pretty cool.
So, what else we got? Do you have anything else you want to add?
As far as efficiency goes, I will say this really pertains to us because we have a lot of kids, but I think it can help people too, just in your daily life, is to kind of plan out your days a little bit. I know that might sound silly if you're by yourself, there's just, 2 or 3 of you, but for us, when we plan out our days, and I mean like, even with the little kids, like planning out what they're gonna wear for that day and getting ready like the night before, it can really make the next day like so much less stressful.
So
general.
I will say that's very true. And even with a lot of kids, I will say we get everywhere we're supposed to go on time.
Yeah, we're not chronically late,
But we're really well. It's like getting to church Sunday morning starts Saturday night.
Right.
Like clothes are picked out, breakfast, whatever we're gonna have for breakfast. Usually Sunday mornings we do cereal because they don't need help with it. They get cereal.
Designated cereal day because we got to get out.
Bye, Dean family. Sure. Thanks for joining us. It's all set out. So as they get up, it's just like an assembly line. And they know, because it's the same thing every time. I'm going to eat my cereal. I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to brush my teeth, brush my hair. And if I am all ready to go early, they get to like turn on the TV or use their tablet. But most of the time, there's always somebody who's lollygagging and they see everybody else is, able to use their tablet, and it like gives them a little kick in the butt to get moving because they realize they're going to run out of time and they're going to be the only one who didn't get to watch a show.
It really is kind of like an assembly line too, because as they get done, finished eating, Laura and I, one of us is out there getting them dressed, and then the other one's doing hair or something usually, and so we kind of have. I'm going to say
I'm a little jealous. I'm pretty sure Sam is better at hair than I am. You wouldn't know that looking at him, but
it's those 4 years or whatever it was. I had to take them to all their dance classes because you were teaching band and stuff. I took them to all their ballet classes and stuff. Had to do a lot of hair for that.
But planning ahead is definitely a big one, and then like with kids, just being really consistent. Because then they just know what to do, and then you don't have to nag them all the time. Like they just know what happens. So. Beth says, yes, I don't have a bunch of kids yet, but I already plan to have things ahead of time, and I get laughed for it by other family who don't. So, yeah, planning is your friend when you have kids.
With my schooling and stuff, you all could pray for me tomorrow morning because I have 2 tests. My first 2 tests in nursing. The 2 classes I'm taking are fundamentals and health assessment are my 2, and it's my first 2 tests, so I'm nervous. It's been a lot of material to go through. It's multiple choice, so I'm thankful about that. But anyway, I've noticed with my schooling, and I had to do this with my prerequisites, and I am not this person, and I never have been, but I had to become organized and writing down what to complete every day, what those goals were, so that I could, in 2 weeks hit X goal or whatever it was, to be halfway done with that class. And if I didn't write it down and be able, it does help me too a little bit mentally to be able to check those things off.
And you feel like you've accomplished something. That's why I like my house checklist.
Even if it's something small, you can see like, maybe I had 4 things I wanted to get done and I only got 3 things done, but at least I got to scratch through those things off. I don't know, just when you're really, really busy and have a lot going on, being organized and stuff, it does help you to be more efficient, I feel like, what you're doing.
Beth says it helps with even the small families. I wish, I know you can't go back in time, so I tell everybody this, that, anyone who asks for advice, I don't just be like, hey, let me tell you how to raise your kids. But if they're like, yeah, I feel so overwhelmed, like, how do you do it? I read the book, Large Family Logistics, and then pretend like you have a million kids like this lady did, and run your life that way. Because, like, just the structure, even if you only have one or two, I wish when I had one or two, I ran the house with the structure I run it now with 6, because I just think it would have saved me so much stress.
Yeah.
Just the kids knowing what to expect. You do certain things on certain
less
days.
Stressed and you feel more fulfilled
Yep.
and happy.
I mean, there's days.
too.
This morning I may have been slightly stressed and angry, but there are days. There are days when it does. You get behind. Like this weekend, the girls, we were gone because Micah and Ivy had a quiz meet. They had a Bible quiz meet. They qualified for regionals. We went to Kansas. It was such an awesome trip, but that meant I got nothing done on Saturday besides driving back and forth to Kansas. And so Monday came around and my house looked like somebody had taken every single thing we owned and threw it in the middle of the floor and then walked around in muddy boots on the house. So I was a little stressed out.
Tara, Karen, and Debbie, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, welcome, True Joy. Thanks for joining us. We're just about wrapping it up maybe because this guy has some more studying to do. Yes.
Yeah, I've got some homework I need to submit, and I want to keep studying for those 2 tests. And then I probably will have quizzes on Wednesday as well. So it's
Thank you, Refining Roots. Have a good night. So our plan, though, is to continue doing lives on Mondays. We'll let you know if we need to skip one, but some of them may be shorter, more like 30 minutes than our usual hour, just depending on what Sam's got going on. But we appreciate you all tuning in. Yes, Pamela says Tribe of Many. I love that channel.
Yeah, Laura watches that channel.
I watch
all the time.
every video she puts out. She just seems like somebody who's just kind of got her head together and is really calm and tries, I don't know, just is realistic about the challenges too.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some channels I watch where they have a lot of kids and I want to be like, come on, like.
They filmed on a good day and showed you like the 5 minutes of awesomeness.
That there's never anything out of place in the house, and I'm like, it's not realistic. Like she just films her life, and they're throwing French fries at each other in the back of the van while she's filming because that's how it goes. So, Beth says, I haven't read any books. I'm just OCD and hate being late places and laziness. I hate being late too.
Yeah, I
and
do
so do
as
you.
well.
It's a good thing we married each
I
other.
was one of 7 kids, and we were late to everything, and I hated it growing up.
So, okay, here's our final question. Whose fault was it? Which sibling was the one who made everybody wait?
Well, it was definitely the sister. I'm the oldest, and the sister under me, her name is Becca. And it was 100% her fault. I will say, so we had 7 kids. Let's see, at that point, we had 5? I think we had 5 and lived in a house like this. It was a really old house, and we had 1 bathroom. And my sister, Becca, was of age and would be in that bathroom for like 2 hours before we had to go somewhere.
Doing her makeup.
Doing who knows what. And,
I think she probably just did it to annoy you.
Oh, yeah. The other 4 of us are out there banging on the door because we want in the 1 bathroom. So that's who I would place the blame on.
So
she's not here to defend herself. So
we'll pick her. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks so much. Thank you, Empty Nester. We appreciate all your prayers.
Yes, thank you.
So thanks for watching.
Thank you for your comment there, Tammy.
Yes, thank you.
Miss having a basement. I will, Lois.
We'll see you guys all next week.
You guys take care. Have a good night. Have a good night. Let's see.